Hello and welcome back everyone to the video series dedicated to a season of the challenge that has no idea what the national language of Australia is. That's right, we're talking about The Challenge Season 25 Free Agents Episode 6. Now let's start off where last episode left off, and that was Laurel and Bananas going into the elimination and taking care of business in balls in elimination, defeating Isaac and Jasmine and sending them home. And back at the house, Teresa is on a major apology tour after the stunt she pulled after rallying around the votes to get Laurel to be sent into the elimination and then backing out on her own vote. People were very upset with that, especially Devin, but Devin has forgiven her and it's all water under the bridge. Now, to get away from the game a bit, we go to the bar scene and everyone's having a good time, doing their thing, joking around, having a good time, and then they get all into the vans, and there's two vans bringing the people back to the challenge house, and in one van the party is just getting started. There's some romance, there's some kissing going on between Nany and Aneesa, oh my, and in the other van there is some anger issues happening where Bananas and CT are having a good time with each other, joking around in the van, being a little bit loud, and then Jordan decides to speak up and tell them to kind of like shut up, and that gets CT angry, and CT is telling Jordan to not even look at him. In one van there's love, and in the other van there's war. But then we go on to the next day where everyone meets TJ for their next daily challenge, and this week's daily challenge, or this episode's daily challenge, is trivia, TJ's favorite and a lot of fans' favorite, and this one is particularly really good. So everyone's gonna be strapped up and they're going to be leaning over water on a high platform, and they have this rope. If you get 2 X's, your rope will be cut and you're going to be falling into the water. The first 4 men and women to drop will be directly into the draw, and then the 1 man and 1 woman still left standing will be the only 2 winners, and they will get to vote 1 man and 1 woman directly into the elimination for this episode. So we have the men's round up first, and let me tell you right now, I wrote down some of my favorites on here, and man, this one was really good. This trivia challenge right here has some of the best responses. There was no multiple choice like in Total Madness. They just let them do whatever they wanted, and it was spectacular. We had Leroy, who could not spell disguise. He got to DIS and then just said guys, which got him an X really quickly. Bananas couldn't think of the official language of Australia. He said Dutch, when of course it's English. Then Johnny Riley says we get vitamin C from the sun. No, it's vitamin D, but vitamin C is from orange juice. Leroy is out first, then Johnny Riley, then Jordan, and then CT was the last man to fall into the water and be eligible for the draw. Then we're on to see who's going to be the winner of the winner's round, and Kahuta can't spell svelte, which I'm not gonna lie, I couldn't spell svelte. I thought it was just the way he said it, but there's an E at the end. So he was unable to stay dry. Preston doesn't watch football, and then he goes for a swim. Bananas can't spell acquaintances, so he makes friend with the water, meaning it comes down to Zach and Swift, and Swift can't spell exacerbate. I don't think a lot of people can spell exacerbate. So he falls into the water, meaning Zach wins, stays dry, and he can vote anybody he wants to that's not already taking part in the draw into the elimination. Then we move on to the girls round, and it was really bad for the girls to start off with this. The girls start off in this trivia challenge 0 for 4 until Devin knows what a female deer is called. It's a doe. Then Cara doesn't know what continent the US is in. It's the North American continent, but she could not figure out what it was. And Camila is out first. I mean, just right off the bat, she is like freaking out, crying. She is upset, and she gets dropped into this water. She hates it. Then Aneesa is done. Then Jessica, and Nany doesn't know who's on the $5 bill, which was Abraham Lincoln. They are all into the draw. They're the first 4 out for the women. So now it's on to see who's going to be the winner. Laurel and Teresa are out back to back, and then Cara loses when TJ asks her what Muhammad Ali's real name is, and she says Mahatma Gandhi. No, definitely not. Cara falls directly into this water. It comes down to John A. and Devin. And John A. didn't know what the longest race in the Olympics was, and so she falls off, and Devin stays dry. She was getting all these questions right, left and right. I really thought that Devin did a fantastic job. She has the big brains of this group, and she did a fantastic job. So we have the two winners, and we have them as Zach and Devin. Back at the house, Zach was wanting Swift in there. Like, there was no doubt in his brain. He wasn't even wavering, should I go A or B? No, he wanted Swift. He had his eyes on Swift. Swift is a rookie, and he doesn't think he's a good competitor whatsoever. So he's just like, okay, well, let's just throw him in. There was no real deliberation that needed. Now, Devin, on the other hand, had some things that needed to be considered. She made a deal with Cara and John A. that she would not say their names and vote for them to go into the elimination. So ultimately, that really left Teresa and Laurel up for grabs to be voted in. And in the room, Devin said to Teresa, I've forgiven you for the stunt you pulled in last week's voting ceremony, and I will vote in Laurel. And Teresa is like, wow, I'm gonna get off scot-free. And then Devin decides to give a heads up to Laurel and goes up to Laurel and says, hey, I'm gonna be voting you into the elimination. And Laurel was like, why would you do that? And Devin was like, well, because I've given my word to John A., Cara, and Laurel that I would not say their names, and that leaves you. I've already said your name. I've sent you into the elimination. Then Laurel does kind of a baller move here, and she goes, okay, I hear what you're saying, but let me give you a demonstration real quick. If I go into the elimination, see who's going to be in the draw, and if you send me in, and see my chances of possibly making it back from the elimination. Now I'm going to take this marker and this paper, and I'm going to write down my hit list of people that I want to take out before I wanted to take out you. And you know what's the funny thing about this? I thought this was a real big baller move too. The one thing that got me laughing really hard was that she didn't even put Devin at the very bottom. Like, she was like, okay, if you don't send me into the elimination this time around, I'm gonna put you all the way at the bottom. No, she doesn't even put her at the bottom. She's like, you're like 5th on my list. There's so many names ahead of you that you'll be fine for a little while. But if you put me in there, I'm gonna put you right up at the top. And Devin's like, okay, well, I'm gonna consider this. We move to the voting ceremony, and just like we had thought of, or just as Zach said, he votes in Swift, so Swift is going to be the male representative in this week's elimination. And Devin, last time we saw her, was talking to Laurel, and she didn't have a decision one way or the other, or she didn't tell us one way or another, but it was her decision, and when TJ asked for a name, Devin says she votes in Teresa. And Zach says, yep, I'm cool with voting in Teresa as well. So the two people going directly into this elimination this week is Teresa and Swift. Now, what I have to say about this is that too many people are giving their word at a drop of a hat. I think that Devin's mistake was saying to Teresa, like, too early on before really talking to everybody and talking to Laurel. I think she went too far too quickly. You don't just go up to somebody and say, you're all good, I'm not gonna vote you in, and then go to somebody else and then go vote them in. I just wouldn't do that personally, because that just shows that your word is nothing, and you're kind of doing exactly what Teresa did in the episode prior to this one. So I think people are just giving out their word really too easily, and then when it comes down to it, they vote in a completely different way. But anyways, let's move on to this week's elimination. We head to the draw to see who's going to be going up against Teresa and Swift. Nany is up first. She flips over her card, and it is a blank. CT is up there, and CT does a great, fantastic, just like confident move. He walks up to the card, flips it over, and doesn't even look at the card or wait for TJ to say anything. He flips it over and just keeps walking to go up to the group, knowing that it's blank. And it was a really, really fun move, and it was really, really good. Well executed, because if it did have the kill card on it, it would have been kind of moot. But anyways, Aneesa's up, she flips over her card, and it is blank. Jordan goes up there, flips over his card, and it is the kill card. He's going to be going up against Swift. And then Camila comes up and flips over her card, and it is the kill card, and she's going to be going up against Teresa. Now, they're going to be facing off against each other in this week's elimination called Looper. Now, Looper was played in episode 3, where it took like 80 minutes for Cara and Naya to get through this game. Now, there's some difference here in this one because they're going to be tethered to each other, going around poles, but now there's a rope on the ground that's attached to their bells. And this is supposed to help further along and speed up the process of somebody winning this elimination instead of them just sticking in the sand for an hour plus in this elimination. So they changed it up a little bit. We have the men up first. Now Jordan is going up against Swift, and I feel as though that both of them are like the same height, somewhat of a similar build. I think Swift is a little bit more beefier. Now TJ blows that horn. They're running around their poles, and Jordan is able to when the tension is hit with the ropes, Jordan was able to get to his rope that's attached to his bell, and Swift could not, giving Jordan the upper hand and the leverage, and he is able to pull himself up to his bell and ring his bell almost instantaneously. It was really, really quick. It was done at like a drop of a hat, and Swift was eliminated. Jordan was able to stay in this game, and now the women are up to face off in this elimination. Now, Teresa has the length, she has the athleticism, she has the longer legs, the longer strides, the longer hand reach, and the longer wingspan. But Camila, we've seen, is a fighter in these types of eliminations in her challenge career up to this point. However, she was just not in it. Her head was not in it. She wasn't mentally in this episode whatsoever because she was already freaking out on the trivia one, and now she's freaking out again. But they get attached. TJ blows that horn. They're running. They both get to their ropes. However, Teresa is just better leverage where she's like sitting on her knees, where Camila is actually like laying down, just holding onto this rope as much as she can, but she is really, really hurting here. She is not able to get up. She's not able to pull herself up. She's not able to get to her knees, get to a sitting position, a doggy position, like get on all fours to try to help pull herself. She is like crying. She's whimpering as Teresa is just pulling herself a little bit at a time. They're going at it for a little while. However, Camila just starts crying and she just lets go of that rope. She puts her head up and she just gives up. And Teresa's able to ring that bell, stay in this game, and Swift and Camila are eliminated. Now, I thought that possibly Camila was going to give a much more of a fight than she did, but she just laid down and died. That is it for this episode of the challenge. Looper is definitely not one of my favorite eliminations. I just don't care for it whatsoever. I thought the Naya and Cara one was super entertaining and super gritty. We don't need that happening every single time. Like, we don't need 3 hours of eliminations of people just holding into the sand, but this one was just kind of a dud. Jordan was able to win instantaneously, and Camila just gave up. But it seems as though that we have hit the middle of the season, and things are looking like it's going to get insane with everything that's going to be coming up. But what do you think about this episode? Let me know that in the comment section below. If you watched this episode, what was some of the trivia questions that made you laugh and some of the answers that made you laugh? Let me know that in the comment section below. And what do you think about this elimination? Do you like the Looper elimination? And who are you rooting for? And were you sad to see how it all went down? Let me know that in the comment section below. But thank you so much for watching. While you're down there, hit that like and subscribe button. I'll be back really, really soon with more challenge content, more content in general. But until then, peace.